As a tourism consultant in America, in Mexico, I would like to know and find out about the opinion of people who work in the tourist industry in these countries, and particularly countries that are developing and least developed countries. We get the impression that the tourism industry has not generated enough alternatives to be able to derive the benefits that it needs. In this type of forum, in which we touch on sensitive topics that affect everyone, and as we said yesterday, by the UN WTO, used the sentence, acting locally, thinking globally. I don't feel the same representation in this forum that is felt in developing countries. Let me give you an example. Something that always affects people is we don't want to continue being part of the scenario where tourist activity is taking place. The way we speak, the way we dress ourselves, or the way our handicrafts are carried out. A company like TUI that transports people throughout the world, 50% of the least developed countries make up this number, still doesn't represent benefits for local industry. Well, because they have their own hotels, their own people, their own hotels, and the labor force is marginal in terms of the benefits. I think we need more representativity, and we need to change our vision of the decisions that are taken in the tourist industry. We need a vision that covers the communities where the real problems are. Climate change, yes, we may well have our share of guilt, but not the same percentage. Thank you. Thank you very much. My friend from Mexico.
Well, this question about representativeness of the local industry in so-called third world countries, it's rather a difficult one to address from the tour operating perspective, because you have to understand that tour operators normally, they enter into a destination when it's almost ready. There has to be a certain infrastructure, there has to be a certain offer before we can go in and contract. So one thing that, for instance, TUI is struggling with in influencing sustainable tourism development in emerging destinations is that tour operators are rarely not asked to be part of that initial development stage, even though we might be at a reality check and might have very valuable input in how these destinations should be developed. Then there's the question about, and I come back to Jeffrey Lippman's comment about mostly these less developed countries are long-haul destinations for us Europeans, and that we would try to get a system where, let's say, the 50 less developed countries would be exempted from let's say, these kind of carbon taxes, whatever. I find that a very problematic solution, not only from a practical point of view, but also from a political point of view. If I look at our long-haul charter flights from Finland, we're now with Thailand being #1 destination. Phuket is bigger than Gran Canaria and Tenerife for our clientele. How can I explain to the Thai government and to our Thai partners that, well, flights are cheaper to Vietnam and Cambodia, so our customers choose those instead? What happens with the existing tourism development there? So these issues, they are really delicate. We have to be very careful when we think about these kind of solutions.
Martin? I'm very sympathetic to the question, and I've been involved in a number of different projects. I mean, I was thinking in a so-called pro-poor project in the Gambia, in which we were trying to find ways of making a much better interaction between people who wanted to be involved in the tourism process, but in various ways had found themselves to some extent excluded. So they were offering certain drinks and things like that on the beach. And before our intervention, they were actually being discouraged by the hoteliers suggesting, no, people should stay inside the hotels. And we achieved quite a lot. However, my activity there, and I went down there, was, as it were, just a voluntary activity and not connected with being a tour operator. And exactly the point that you were making. In other words, the position of somebody working in that way, and there are many other people, many probably here, who've been involved in similar projects, which are trying to enlarge the base of those who really want to be involved and can be economically active in the tourism sector. And more needs to be done. But it's difficult for tour operators wearing their tour operator hat, so to speak, to actually be involved in that directly. And it's easier to do it from a rather different perspective.